What did she think getting the help from the literal dark was going to do to actually ultimately save her son? Let's really think about that, right? Hello, and welcome back to Embodying Mystical Mac. I'm Mac, and if you are new here, thank you so much for watching. If you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. Today, we have another Wheel of Time review. For those of you listening on the podcast, there's nothing particularly exciting today about the YouTube, except for your usuals that are always present, which are my paintings of the flame and the dragon fang, as well as my cute little, like, witchy way book, and of course, I've got, like, my festive fall pumpkin. And my little friends here, I've got BB9, which is the droid that I built at the Droid Depot in Disneyland. Then I've got a little mini Groot and a little Porg that we named Poke. So if you want to check the usual setup out, aside from the pumpkin, which will definitely get replaced with whatever seasonal thing is next, feel free to hop over to YouTube. But if not, thank you so much for supporting the podcast medium. If you are on Spotify, go ahead and leave a little question in the Q&A box. If you don't have a question, just leave a random emoji so I know that you're listening. I really, really appreciate the support on there. And let's just dive into episode 6, all right? I can see that they are trying to improve upon what they had before. It's just part of me feels like for some of it it's a little too late, but there was a lot of stuff done in this episode that I appreciated. Let's see. Great Odd Dom demo is the first note that I have. The Odd Dom demonstration was pretty cool. When Egwene gets tossed forward and we first see the Odd Dom placed on her. I am very surprised by the design. I think art and FX department did a really, really, really good job. I'm still never gonna let go of those goddamn stupid useless mouthpieces. They were annoying, they feel like overkill, but the Adam itself, bravo. Specifically also, like, the connection to the Saldom was really, really interesting, and I appreciated that. I like whoever's playing Rena. She actually did a really good job in conveying subtlety where subtlety was due and kind of overt emoting where that was due as well. Like, it was very clear that she was very insecure about her relationship with Egwene as her Davane. And we get to see that in the moments where she essentially loses her patience and just beats the shit out of her. Things like that. All of that was done very well. Next thing I wrote was so effed up and I love it, well done. And I was talking about the relationship between Rena and Egwene. Just, I will say, silly mouthpiece aside, and I'm so grateful that for the most part we didn't really get to like see that mouthpiece in action except for the goofy scenes in the series or in the season where there were moments with it, you know, the moment where Egwene spits it out. I think I talked about that last season or last episode, that kind of thing. But for the most part, I'm glad that it was omitted because it really made the core of the issue, which is how these Damane are treated, how they are just viewed by society, by the Shanshan society at whole. And it was all just very well executed, very just fucked up, fucked with your brain, really made you kind of go like, whoa, what? Right? Especially in those moments where you have Rena like praising Egwene's ability to channel and then essentially calling her like a second-class citizen, if not just downright like a rabid animal. Because of the same reason she's praising her is all very interesting. The whole trained like dogs, I think somebody says it. Appreciate the little insertion there because that is what this thing is constantly compared to in the books. Okay, I wrote this. Liking Ranfear better. Remember I said I was super bored with Raylene? Well, Ranfear is an improvement. I appreciate Ranfear. Lanfear trying to plant doubt. She obviously ends up succeeding. And at least Moiraine's, and what I'm referring to here is when Rand essentially, like, he does the thing with Lanfear, but then he comes back to Moiraine and is like, I have to go. She says she'll kill you if I see you again. And while we know that part of that is motivated by Rand, obviously not wanting Moiraine dead, it's also motivated by the fact that the doubts that Lanfear has tried to plant in his mind are now officially planted. That's another reason, I believe, why he just, like, can't wait to get away from her. And so I appreciated that, and I wrote at least Rand's and Moiraine's relationship is finding its way into being like on the tracks that we find it in the book. or in the books, and I appreciate that because that is part of the intrigue for me, at least, how Rand and Moiraine go from like this really kind of perilous, untrustworthy place to this place of him essentially trusting her with like anything, right? And so it's really interesting, and I appreciate that that's kind of finding its tracks. Let's see. Oh, I just love my little couple names. Mint is happening, ... Ugh. If you don't know what I'm referring to, that is Matt Cawthon and Mint. I was about to say, I forgot her name. I forgot her last name. But anyways, her whole name is Almondretta. Yes, this is Min and Matt. I feel like it's happening, you guys. I really feel like it's happening. I don't like it, but it is what it is. Okay, we gotta say, quote, Black Aja, quote, just take a moment. I'm referring to the scene with, I believe it was Rima and the girls with Egwene, not Egwene, with Elaine and Nynaeve when they're talking about Black Aja. I just felt like there was a moment where we could just let the realization hang in the air instead of the writers insisting on including another, the Black Aja kind of thing. Liandrin turning to the dark to, quote, save her son is very comical for me, especially because, like, I mean, I get it. I get the rhetoric, and actually this is the most, like, Liandrin thing that I feel like we have gotten from time to time. Like, I feel like they give us some really, like, oh yeah, this is Liandrin, this is good stuff, and then they try to, like, humanize her a little bit too much, and then it kind of goes back on what they were doing, and then they, like, go back to making her kind of, you know, horrible and things like that. I feel like this whole, like, her turning to the dark to save her son is very much like a Liandrin thing, and I appreciated the fact that Lanfear, you know, was kind of taunting her this way. Next I wrote, Lanfear actually does well here, using actual weaves instead of made-up twine. I'm just, you know, poking fun at the fact that last episode they had Lanfear, like, sew someone's mouth shut in the real world, which someone in my comments section, thank you, whoever that was, pointed out the fact that she could have totally done that in the dream believably, but the fact that we weren't in Tel'aran'rhiod just kind of, like, killed that in the water. I just had to, like, poke fun at it a little bit, because this time she actually, you know, she does, like, what I actually think we've seen in Avatar: The Last Airbender before, which is when Zahir essentially, you know, uses airbending to people. Yeah, she essentially just, like, sucks the air out of him. It's very, I actually felt bad for Liandrin here, but not in a way where I'm like, oh my god, I'm being forced to feel bad for her. No, I actually, like, I felt bad for her because she put herself here. What did she think getting the help from the literal dark was going to do to actually ultimately save her son? Let's really think about that, right? But of course, Liandrin, when she made that decision, didn't think that through. She didn't realize what she was really doing. And this is why I feel really, really bad for her. It's because, like good writing often does, I will admit this was a little piece of good writing here. Characters should find themselves in peril mostly due to their own choices. That is typically far more interesting than things just happening to them. So this was an example of that, and I appreciated it. This is essentially like us feeling horrible that Ned Stark is about to get his head chopped off, but then also realizing, like, my man, you had time and information that you did not use, and unfortunately, as Cersei Lannister says, in the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die. There is no alternative. So, you know, we feel bad, but we also know he let himself there. This is the same thing. I'm now rambling. Let's go. Okay, so I just noted that Ingtar and Loyal are now Dakaval. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I think it's called Dakaval. Which is essentially like servants, which is why they're dressed really funny. It really bothered me that the Shanchan were, like, making fun of the tree singing, especially because it's honestly, like, a lost art and so dear to Ogier lore and history And this is like one of the moments that like I wish Elaine had been there, like in her daughter heir position of power, to be like, the fuck are wrong with y'all? Have some goddamn respect for the builders. Like, ugh. Anyways, really good way to showcase how shitty the Shanchan are and how ignorant they are at the same time too. Because that's the kind of thing that's really interesting about the Shanchan. To me, them and the White Cloaks, and of course, like, you know, how Masima ends up going. I don't know if that's what we're actually gonna get. Y'all who read the books know how he ends up going. Aside from like those kinds of, or those three places, in my opinion, are kind of like where negative religiosity sort of spike up the most in Wheel of Time. I might be missing a couple of groups here and there. I feel like the Shanchan, Masima's group, and then of course the White Cloaks, they all kind of share this through line of fundamentalism, right? Where their beliefs that they cannot prove dictate a very strict existence. And it's all kind of culty and things like that. The Shanchan, I find, are a really interesting example of this, because typically in those communities, things are so guided by this like umbrella of thought, and individual thought isn't always encouraged, if even, you know, allowed to really fully exist within the members. And so they end up being ignorant to a lot of other things. One of the things being that the builders like literally built so much of what Arthur Hawkwing's empire was, which is what the Shanchan claimed to have a claim to. So you would think that they would be wise enough to be respectful to the builders, right? But no, because they're fucking ignorant and they're stupid in the sense that they're so tied in their own little fundamentalist beliefs and unable to open their mind to anything else, that essentially they end up being their own undoing, right? Even if the undoing is they will never, ever, ever conquer those lands, at least not as long as the wheel is in balance. And they essentially were forced to go back and leave the fucking Aes Sedai and the Channelers in the mainland or whatever alone, because their way is barbaric and horrendous, and they were gonna lose that war regardless, because there was gonna be no war that was gonna outweigh the last battle, right? So they had a choice to make. They could participate in the last battle and not be annihilated, period, or they could try to fight a stupid petty war that they do not have any claim to anyways. Their ignorance just really gets shown in this scene, and while it hurt me to see Loyal like tree sing and have people literally laugh at him, it was kind of a cool thing to see, and just more evidence for why you should probably dislike, or in the very least not respect, the Shanchan. Yeah, literally next I wrote the Shanchan are gross. Love Ingtar and Loyal's conversation about the horn and about Egwene. I love how it's like she doesn't know it, but people are hyping her up, right? Like all around her. Showing how the Adam infects the mind is really interesting, right? Egwene thinks of hurting her Soldam, and she literally is hurt. She reaches for the glass or the pitcher and she can't touch it because she only sees it as a weapon to hurt her Soldam. And I thought that that was a really interesting way of like showing the first like degree of breaking when it comes to Damani training. I kept just writing the Shanchan are so gross, and then I wrote, you know, Soldam channel 2, which we knew that. I mean, I'm sorry if that was a spoiler for some of y'all, but I promise you're gonna learn in like 2 episodes. So interesting how Rana uses Egwene's dress to wipe her blood off, Egwene's blood off her face. Just adds to the fucked upness of it all. Rana is gross. Well done. Yep, we're gonna keep getting those. Yeah, so Min is now working with Ishmael. Ugh. Lan, a dark friend, really, oh my god, the fact that we even had this stupid little plot line where Lan and those 2 other warders, Alana's warders, have this little showdown, this little stand down because they think that he's a dark friend. Like, the fact that the writers even wanted to throw that in, it just kind of, it's stupid to me, because it's not, like, as much as I don't like that their whole, like, thing with Matt, like, I can understand trying to weave a little plot line where we potentially think he might be a dark friend. I can get that with Matt's storyline and how it's gone. But Lan, like, really, Lan, like, you have no ground to stand on when it comes to that. It just felt like a waste of time. Let's see, Ishamael being used well is nice, and I guess what I mean by that is like he did become a little bit more of an interesting character this season, and I appreciate how they're making use of his character. And then I said next, I said, yeah, Ranfir is way more interesting. Lanfear got jealous when she took Rand to see Egwene, but she did want him where she got him, which is quite desperate, so you could say her plan's working. Egwene's journey and mental struggle is so far done really well, especially in the face of being quote-quote trained. Thought that was really, it's just, that has been one of the highlights so far, which is sad, because, you know, I don't want my Egwene all locked up, but this is part of her story, and I appreciate that we're digging into it. I loved Rima, Nynaeve, Elaine, and Basan's interactions. I like that we get Elaine messing around with Terengrial. Okay, next, I just said, okay, so she's stilled officially, but the bond is still masked. That's, again, regarding Moiraine. Just more questions about that. They went back and forth so much this season. Moiraine is hot and cold with her nephew now. Really? Obviously, this pisses Anvert off. I don't get the... I don't get why that scene had to happen. It's not like that scene happened and that's what turned Barthanes to the dark. Barthanes had long since gone to the dark. He wouldn't have gotten such an order from such a black Aja like Liandrin. Right, I would imagine that even if they're not super high in the rankings, the Black Aja sisters are a lot higher in the rankings than just your average dark friend, even if they are a noble. So for him to be getting such orders from a Black Aja sister to essentially off an Aes Sedai, and I think there was someone else in the picture, I think it was Rand as well, maybe, I don't know, there were two of them. If he's getting those kinds of orders, you have to imagine this is not his first rodeo. This is not Barthanes joined the dark like 2 days ago. He'd already joined the dark. Why did we have to have that stupid little scene where Moiraine is just super shitty to him for no reason when she was like warm earlier? It shows that Moiraine is petty. It shows that she's inconsiderate of other people's feelings. It shows that she's actually incredibly selfish, right? Not goal-oriented and focused, and sometimes, you know, falls, what is the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. It's not like she isn't sometimes, you know, deterred in a sense from being the best person she can be by her tunnel vision. Of course, all those things are true, but the way that this scene went about it just made her seem a bit petulant, a bit self-centered, and just inconsiderate, which is just the further assassination of Moiraine. It's just been happening, and this was another way. And I also felt that it was unnecessary. Again, if this interaction was the thing that turned Barthanes to the dark, I would totally understand keeping it in there. The fact that it has nothing to do with anything, it's just to show that Moiraine is super hot and cold and kind of a bitch for the most part, and to get Anvert pissed, I'm sorry, unnecessary. You could have cut that. Oop, Moiraine, who's not Moiraine, is back. Your tears don't change anything. I think she might have said that. Yeah, I think she might have said that. And I said, oop, Moiraine, who's not Moiraine, is back, essentially because, like I said, they went back to, like, portraying her as this, like, super inconsiderate, immature person. Air knives around Swan were cool. I appreciated how they kind of created, like, this, like, crown, too. Very cool visual. She does it again at some point, which kind of kills me a little bit. It felt like a little bit gimmicky, that second part, but I did appreciate it very much this first. Logain teaching him without being able to see it, but can he? So channeling is just visible. To answer this question, I think either in this episode or the next, we do have a moment where I think Lan is talking to Logain and he says something about how he can see the weaves of Saidin, and it's just for us to accept. And I recognize that if I wasn't a book reader, I probably wouldn't have much of an issue with this at all. because they really didn't make it a very hard rule who can see weaves and who can't. It kind of seems like even if you are stilled, you can still kind of see the weaves, which I don't like that. I think it makes what was a very tight magic system rather loose, and I don't appreciate it. Obviously, that is how we figure out that Moiraine's actually just the shield's tied off. And this is literally what I said the whole goddamn time. But they had to go back and forth. They had to like yo-yo the shit out of us. And they had to waste all of that screen time just for us to get here. Yay. Aren't we so lucky? Matt and Rand reunite. That was cute. Wait, yeah, okay. Where are the strange Shan-Chan beasts, okay? We've heard about them. Where are they? I would like to see them. I would appreciate viewing them. Were they not in the budget? Did you guys blow your budget with something else, like bad writers? Yeah, it's kind of disappointing that the Shan-Chan beasts aren't there. Blood in Egwene's eye to show how actually hard she's struggling. I did appreciate that. She like literally blew vessels in her eye, and it gets progressively worse. Looks very gross, but I appreciated the detail. Damane aren't people, but are special. Ick. Like, that's what I mean, right? So effed up. Oh my God, so effed up. Consistently be like, oh my God, you're so special because you give me a lot of power. But like, you are literally a dog. Don't speak unless spoken to. And if you try to hurt me, you'll only hurt yourself, and you will never, ever, ever be able to make another choice for yourself, because people view you like a literal beast who can't control themselves and will hurt everyone if allowed to roam free. Fun. All right. Music for the Damane training was cool. That's it for that one. It's not, okay, it's not affinity if there is no choice, right? And I'm just commenting on Renna's commentary to Egwene here, because I get it. She has been indoctrinated by a culture that thinks all this shit is totally normal and okay, but hate to break it to you, girl. Yeah, this was one of the moments where the actress that played Renna, I thought, handled her acting really well when she feels her failure and being able to bond with Egwene and essentially breaks in the form of beating the crap out of Egwene. Elaine's never had a friend before. I thought that was a really believable and very sweet moment when Nynaeve is like, why are you trying to save her? And, you know, Elaine's like, well, she's my friend. Like, I've never had one of those. Kind of want to take care of that. Yeah, mint is a thing. Lady's heart I gotta break. Literal line from Matt's mouth when he's telling Rand that he's gonna go with him to Falm. Yeah, Falm. He literally says there's a lady's heart I gotta break. Mint is happening, y'all. Hot and cold Moiraine again. Lan finds his voice and purpose, which I did appreciate. I am so tired of mopey Lan. And then I just said, no, Rima! Yeah, I saw that coming from a mile away. The Adam needs healing, ... Tell me more. And I do remember that it was Nynaeve, I believe, who first kind of figured out the Adam. So I just kind of wanted more into that, but obviously we weren't able to because, you know, she like shocked a wave of one power through and unfortunately alerted the Damane, so. Next I said, dumb mouthpiece. Not gonna let that go. And then I said, Rima and Basan, go. Damn it, Rima. That was heartbreaking. That was fucking heartbreaking. And that was disgusting to watch her break that Sul'Dam's bones like that. But damn, girl. Damn, you get it in your grief. You get it. Truly terrifying, I said. And I was referring to, again, every single time I see a person collared, it is just... Bleh. Elaine and Nynaeve's handhold was appropriate. It was heartfelt. I appreciated it. Egwene, broken question mark? Nah, just we wait. Still devastating though. Egwene's determination is renewed. And wow, how did that happen exactly? Something happened that made her determination be renewed. And I think it might have been seeing Rand. Maybe. That's all I have for this episode. Yeah, it listen, I actually rather enjoyed this episode because a lot of it was Demane training, and yeah, those were some of the hardest parts for me to read in the book and listen to in the books, but also some of the most interesting to me. I've always had a really interesting fascination with effed up humans and effed up situations, and the Shan-Chan are all kinds of effed up, and I would say that the way they treat their Damane are probably the most effed up out of their entire culture. So I actually rather enjoyed this episode in the sense that, like, they were showing me things that I was interested in. I obviously also had my moments where I was like, yo guys, why are we showing this? Yo guys, like, what is the point in this? What are we doing with our lives here? But I've kind of expected that that's just what's gonna happen, and it's unfortunate to say the least. But it is what it is, okay? Like, is this season better than last season? I feel like I ask this question every time. Sure, it is. It's better, but when we're comparing to something that kind of sits so far on the ground for me, that better, while it means something, it's still not getting like a stamp of approval for me in a sense, you know? Like, I'm curious to see when I get talking about the season finale, how I feel about it. All that to say, still kind of interested to see how they're going to try to make this go. Still kind of interested to see what they're going to do with the other Forsaken and all that junk, but that is a conversation for another day. And for those of you that are wondering, I will be doing like a full season review once we're done with these little episode reviews. So thank you so much for being here for this episode of talking about Wheel of Time. Whether you're listening on the podcast or you're watching on YouTube, I really appreciate you supporting either or both mediums. And if you made it this far, please consider liking the video, please consider subscribing to the channel, and please consider clicking that bell because I post regularly, but I don't post on a schedule. And those are all really free and amazing ways to support this channel, so consider doing that. Also, if you would like to directly support this channel financially, you can either check out my affiliates below. You could book a tarot reading by emailing me at embodyingmysticalmac@gmail.com, and you can donate to my PayPal, which will also be in the description below. Lastly, you can follow me on social media. I am rather active on Instagram, and I do have a TikTok with a well of things for you to check out. But yeah, for the most part, I'm over here on YouTube. I'm over there on Instagram. So check me out, Embodying Mystical Mac. I'm also making music, and I do post mini covers here and there, and that is at Mac and the Music. So thank you so much. I will catch you very soon, if not literally today, for Wheel of Time Season 2, Episode 7. You'll probably find me in my little Artet shirt again. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. May you always find water and shade. Stay mystical. Stay grounded. I'll catch you soon. Don't know what I'm doing. Bye.